Takes the snap.
When Mike Porter was a senior at Jefferson Davis High School in Houston, he was a pretty good football player.
He was good. He was a hard-nosed running back and get short yardage, good yardage. He could run inside or outside.
Chuck Arnold was a rookie head coach that year, 1991. When you're a new coach, it's nice to have a good player. Thing is, it's even nicer to have more than one.
We used him for everything. We put him at tailback.
Gerald Garcia was a first-year assistant coach that year.
We put him at any place we needed him that week. We did the scouting, and whatever their strength was, we'd plug Michael in there. I mean, if they had a big-time receiver and all they threw was through it, Michael played corner that week.
There were 2 seniors, 2 juniors, and the rest were freshmen. So we took a beating that first year. I mean, we scored 3 touchdowns, and Mike had all of them. So it was a rough year.
Yeah, 1991 was rough. Maybe even rougher than 1990 or 1989. And that's saying something. Jeff Davis didn't win any games any of those years. They hadn't won a game since 1985. They were 6 years into the longest losing streak in high school football history, and there was no end in sight. Every week, the Jeff Davis Panthers gave up more points in that one game than they would score the whole season. The final tally? Other guys, 437. Davis, 22.
Man, you just wanted to win, man. I mean, I had some really good friends that played ball with me. And, man, we just wanted to win.
This is Mike Porter, the hard-nosed running back who played wherever they needed him to.
At that time, school spirit wasn't the best, so goodness, you come back to class and some kid sitting in the class would make a joke about it, and I had to learn to ignore that.
It's a good thing he learned to ignore it, because he still had a lot of losing to do. As part of the longest losing streak in high school history, he lost every game he ever played in. And then he went to college, to Prairie View A&amp, just outside Houston, and he played there. During the longest losing streak in NCAA history, he lost every game in high school. He lost every game in college. Mike Porter of Houston, Texas, knows a lot about losing. Now he's the coach at his old high school. And you know what's kind of funny? They're glad to have him. I'm King Kaufman, and this is Can't Win for Losing, a podcast about losing. In this pilot episode, how one football player turned a career of losing into a lifetime of coaching. And we'll introduce our feature, Lost Populi, stories from everyday people like you and me, and that time they took a big ol' L. Strap on your helmet, it's going to be a bumpy ride. This is Can't Win for Losing. Jefferson Davis High changed its name to Northside last year. It was built in 1926. It's in Houston's near Northside neighborhood, a working-class area. NBA Hall of Famer Slater Martin went there. He won 5 championships way back in the day with the Minneapolis Lakers and the St. Louis Hawks. His name's on the scoreboard in the gym. Baseball star Carl Crawford went to Davis, starred in a bunch of sports. And nobody mentioned him when I was there, but so did Kenny Rogers, the singer and chicken guy. For a long time, Davis was just like a lot of other big city high schools in Texas and elsewhere. They played football. They had some good years. They had some bad years. And then, in the 70s, things started to go downhill. Here's Porter.
Yeah, you already had, white flight. So the neighborhood really started to take a turn. And a lot of people weren't attending the school. They were going to other places. And it really took a dip.
Gerald Garcia got to Davis as an assistant coach in 1991, Porter's senior year. He's still there. He talked about what it was like back then.
The facilities were just horrible. I mean, we had these little T buildings back there that were rotten. It was terrible. I mean, that's why the numbers were so low. And if you know football, you got to have an army. And we were running out there with 15, 16 kids trying to play 5A football.
The losing streak had started in the middle of the 1985 season. By the time Mike Porter got into a few games as a freshman, the streak was in the 30s. When Chuck Arnold was hired before the 1991 season, the Panthers had lost 54 straight. It's hard to believe, but not a lot of people wanted that job.
One of my goals was to be a head coach, and there weren't that many of them popping up, so, I took the chance when I had it. I knew it was a one-time deal, either change the program or I'd never get another shot. It's that kind of deal.
When we first got here, we'd have kids that they wouldn't even wear their letter jackets because they would get ridiculed by the other students. So that was one of the main things, is just to make it that it was okay to play football.
The first year I was there, we passed out T-shirts with Jeff Davis football, and you'd see kids wear them inside out. I mean, literally inside out. I said, oh, man, we got some work to do. So, yeah, they didn't wear them around the community, didn't wear them other than right there at practice when you had to have them.
These are the players.
Yeah, that was the players.
For Mike Porter, it wasn't all bad.
You know, as a student and as an athlete, it was great for me. I mean, I had a great time. Now, I will say, I mean, honestly, I was a shy kid, and I made good grades. So, you know, in a lot of ways, I guess you can say I was a nerd. So football was my way of, all right, this is what I do. I'm normal, you know. It was a life skill kid, and, you know, that's some form of special education. Every game, this kid would come up to me, like on Monday or Tuesday, and was like, good game, Mike. And, man, it's like I tell you, seriously, he couldn't play. And I'm sure he wanted to. But I got the opportunity to play. So I wanted to play for him. Because win, lose, or draw, he was always like that. So, you know, that's what I did. But we didn't win. And it was tough.
Even the longest losing streak in high school football history has to end sometime, and this one finally did. Coach Arnold turned out to be pretty good. He and his staff convinced more kids to play for the team. They built a positive culture, and over the next 2 years, they got closer and closer. The weekly 51-0 beatdown turned into scores like 21-15 and 12-10. Coach Garcia.
They didn't even know what it was all about, and they were getting ridiculed. Oh, y'all lost 70, 80 games in a row. I said, no, wait a minute. And then we used to preach to them, wait a minute, man, y'all have only lost 3 or 4 in a row. I mean, we're adding to that. It is what it was, but if we're going to change this thing, we got to treat it like this is our time. And it happened on October 29th, 1993. We beat Wheatley 18-17, and the streak was over.
Not that you remember it that well, but I guess that was a big night.
I remember it like vividly.
Yeah, it was really October 23rd, not the 29th, but in a minute, Coach Garcia is going to say the date again, and he'll get it right. Memory's funny. The final score wasn't 18-17 either. It was 19-18. But I have to say, except for a detail like that here or there, everybody I talked to about that night remembered it the same way, 24 years later. And if you read the stories in the next day's Houston Chronicle, they remembered it right. Oh yeah, stories, plural. It was an A1 centerpiece in the Chronicle. It was national news.
Oh, it was kind of crazy. It was like a state championship game. You know, everybody had predicted Davis to win, so the media was there in force. There was cameras everywhere. The stands were full. People had never seen a Davis game all of a sudden were there. It was packed.
October 23rd, 1993. I mean, we had come close. We were getting better. But, you know, the people say things like snake bit. That's just excuses. We just a little fumble here, play there. But then finally, it all came together that night. The stands were packed. It was like a Super Bowl. The running back, Jackson, he scored in the sportscaster on Channel 11. God, I can't remember his name. He called it the touchdown. Heard around Texas. The neighborhood shut down. The school shut down. I mean, hell, the attendance at school on Monday was like about 50% because it was a big celebration when we finally broke that losing streak.
Mike Porter wasn't there. By this time, he was playing at Prairie View A&amp.
I was on a bus driving back to Houston. I believe we had lost to Alabama State. I don't know. The O-line coach, he got a newspaper, and he was like, hey, Porter, your school won. And I remember just, yeah. You know, I was like, yes. I knew it was only a matter of time, though. But, man, I just felt really good. Really good. And I was like, oh, well, hell, we just lost. But, I was just really happy.
No jealousy?
Well, almost immediately I thought, oh, man, they finna start looking at us more. And they gonna find me. Oh, man, I was like, oh, crap. So it was a little, oh, here we go. But I was happy for my school.
Why'd they want to find him? Because it was 1993, and the Panthers hadn't won since 1989. Yeah, Prairie View A&amp, also the Panthers. Here we go again. They were on their way to losing, you're going to think I'm making this up, 80 straight games, exactly the same number as Davis High. It's an NCAA record by a lot. The second longest streak is 44.
I just stopped looking at scoreboards that much. We still hang out. We don't talk about it. We like to talk about, we say, you know what, we didn't win a game, but we kicked it like national champions.
Not long after Porter graduated, Chuck Arnold hired him as an assistant at Davis High.
I respected him as a player and he knew my system. He dealt with the adversity that we'd gone through there, and we were still going through it a little bit. So I knew he could handle it, where a lot of people avoid the losing stigma completely. It was hard to find good coaches.
Porter was the offensive coordinator for the Panthers in 2008 when they went undefeated in the regular season and made it to the second round of the state playoffs. He took over as head coach when Arnold retired 4 years ago. Maybe all that losing as a player taught him a little something about how to coach.
Well, it definitely shapes you. You learn more from losing than winning, of course. I mean, you build character, as they all say. Yeah, well, I've had enough character building, and Mike has too, but nobody likes to lose. But some people just can't seem to accept the fact that that's part of life. He's learned quite well how to deal with it. Adversity comes to everybody, some way or another, and maybe not in sports, but you got to learn to deal with it.
Gerald Garcia was Porter's position coach during his senior year, and now he works for him.
I was proud of him then, and I'm proud of him now because he came back and he kept everything going. He kept it going. He even took it to another notch because he's won more games in his first 4 years than the last 6 coaches in their first 4 years.
Porter did not have to wait 8 years or 80 games to get his first win as a head coach, but it didn't come easy. His Panthers lost their first 5 straight, and then they beat Austin, 31-20.
I mean, I think I jumped up in the air about 5 feet or something. But it was wonderful feeling. We played a really good game. We win. Oh, it was awesome, man. But it just felt like everybody was with me.
When I go talk to your kids and I say, what does Coach Porter say about the losing streak? What are they going to roll their eyes and say, oh, man, he talks about this all the time. Here's what he says. What is it?
Well, amazingly, we don't talk about it much. These kids weren't born.
You never hear any of him talking about himself.
Most of the time after practice, team meetings, in mid-game, he mostly uses it for encouragement, though.
That's Jamichael Jordan, a defensive tackle who'll be a junior next season. You also heard from Patrick Brown, a running back who just graduated. Here's Patrick again.
Yeah, he mentions it, especially when we're down and team always say, man, we stay losing and stuff like that. He said, I know, I've been through it. Just pick your head back up.
Back in my day, I played a part of the team that had the 80-some game losing streak, and I know what it was like. Just all kind of stuff like that.
Do you ever get tired of hearing about it?
No, sir, because it encouraged me. Like, I don't want to be like Coach Porter. I want to win.
And you guys told me that you make fun of him, not about the streak, just for being him.
He got these little phrases he says like, man, y'all talking about man. He talks funny, and we always just be laughing and stuff in the huddle.
It was a really serious moment. He might be like, "Shut up" or something, but most of the time he just lets it go. Like, it's nothing really major to him. He laughs with it.
Don't just be Davis good, Northside good, be better than the guy at the other school. You know, try to tell them that. Just conduct yourself as a man, because people are looking at you again, and how are you going to react? Are you going to do crazy stuff? And people say they see that's what losers do.
In 4 years, Mike Porter's Northside High Panthers, formerly Jeff Davis High, have won 15 and lost 26.
I just hadn't felt like I had a complete team. But, I mean, kids compete. They're proud to play. It ain't the old days where I'm hiding my shirt. You know, they go out and compete. Yeah, I don't know where I would be without that streak. I mean, it made me a stronger person. I genuinely believe that. But I see the struggle in bad teams. I always look for that kid on a bad team that is just balling and going hard out, because I was like, that's a good football player. That kid's going to give you what he got all the time. And almost every time, I'll make it a point to go find that kid. And almost every time, he's a good kid. Just a really good kid that just likes to play football. And it reminds me, I guess, of myself. You know, some of those guys I think are better athletes.
S-P-I-R-I-T, spirit, we got spirit. We got it.
This fall, Mike Porter starts his 5th season as the head coach of the Northside Panthers. They're on a 3-game losing streak. I don't think he's worried.
You know, it's rough to have to go through that, but, you know, if you do, don't worry. They ain't going to last forever. I don't feel like I'm still losing.
Have you ever felt like you just took a big ol' L? That's the premise of Loss Populi, the losses of the people. For the first edition of this regular feature, let's go back to Houston to the Northside High spring football game. I met OG Triple OG and Queen Amanda. It's possible these are not their given names. They didn't want to go along with the premise.
I never take L's, but when I do, I learn lessons. I'll never lose.
What's a lesson you've learned from one of those times when you never lost?
It's never a loss. It's always a lesson.
Can you give me an example of something that happened where you say, okay, that wasn't a loss, that was a lesson?
Well, when I fail my classes, instead of taking it as a loss, I do better next time by studying and reading.
What classes have you ever failed?
Geometry.
I failed geometry too.
Also chemistry.
I didn't fail chemistry. I didn't take it.
Ask me a question.
Yeah, that's the same question.
Oh, the L's? I don't take L's. I give L's. But when I do take L's, it's in Spanish because, you know, I don't speak Spanish. But, yeah.
So you're talking about Spanish classes in school?
Yes, I take a lot of L's.
How come? Is there a lesson from that?
I need to study more, you know. That's all. I just need to study.
How does it make you feel when you get that report card and it's like, it's not an L, it's an F or whatever it is?
I get upset. I just want to get mad and yell at the teacher, but I know it's on me because I don't study.
So at some point, do you start studying?
Yes, just a little, but not like that because I don't get it. But I try.
Is there any lessons for the rest of your life that you can take from your Spanish experience?
Yes, keep studying until I get it and until I pass and get an A.
Thanks to Queen Amanda there and her friend OG Triple OG, our first ever guests on Lost Populi. They don't take L's, they give them. But if you feel like you've ever taken an L, whether it had to do with sports or work or school or love or politics, whatever, I'd like to hear your story. Call the Lost Line at 510-646-1082 and spill it. Make sure you leave your contact information because if we use your story on the show, we're going to give you $50. Aha! Now you're listening. Okay, here's the phone number again. 510-646-1082. Tell your story of losing, win $50.
I can't win for losing. I lose every time. Every time I get a nickel, somebody wanna dime.
This has been a pilot episode of Can't Win for Losing. We're not yet in regular production. If you want to help us get there and stay up to date on our progress, subscribe to the show and write a review on iTunes or wherever it is you get your podcasts. Follow us on Facebook at Can't Win for Losing. That's the number 4. Can't Win for Losing. You can sign up for our newsletter there too. And on Twitter and Instagram, we are Can't Win Podcast. Every follow and every like and every retweet and every newsletter sign up helps this show.
I can't win for losing. I lose every time. Every time I get a nickel, somebody wanna dime.
Can't Win for Losing is edited by Jeffrey Reddick. Our opening theme is Big Band Swing by Audionautics at audionautics.com. Other music in this episode was by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com and Hazar, that's Javier Suarez, at betterwithmusic.com. We use both under the Creative Commons Share-alike license. Our closing theme is Can't Win for Losing by Johnny Rawls on Deep South Soul Records. Keep the blues alive by visiting his website at johnnyrawlsblues.com. For more on the music and the stories in this episode, visit our website, can'twinpodcast.com. I'm King Kaufman. This episode of Can't Win for Losing is dedicated to Vinko Bogataj.
Oh, baby, what a terrible fall.